The Disrupt Education vlog can be found on YouTube. To hear it in podcast form, search Disrupt Education on any of the following podcast platforms: Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Breaker, Castbox, Overcast, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Spotify, or Stitcher. Welcome to this episode of Disrupt Education. I have a great guest with us today, Billy Bross. I'm going to give a brief introduction, but I'm going to ask him a little bit more about himself. He's an online course growth expert, an investor, and my favorite, a home brewer. He helps online education companies and course creators break through the noise and fill their programs with committed, high-quality students. Okay, let's start with you, Bill. Billy Bross, you left a career in renewable energy and then kind of went into the home brewing course thing. So first off, thank you for being here, and run us through that little course. I like that.
Yeah, it's been quite the adventure, and I definitely took the traditional path and then very quickly veered off that to take the non-traditional path, which I'll talk through. Because I really was on a traditional path, doing everything that I was supposed to be doing. I was going to school, I was getting good grades, and having a lot of fun at the same time. I was always really into playing baseball and goofing off with my friends. So my friends and I really mastered work hard, party hard.
Yeah.
And that played out through college. And then I went into this phenomenal career as a renewable energy consultant, doing exactly what I studied in college. So in college, I majored in this sort of unusual degree called Integrated Science and Technology. And at the time, it was the only college, James Madison University in Virginia, go Dukes, that offered it. And it was really interesting to me because it's a combination of science, yes, but also the business side of that and applying that to real world problems. So I went into this really prepared, really interested in the topic, and really enjoying what I was doing for a living, which is not the typical entrepreneur story. Like usually when they talk about school, it's not in a positive light. They're like, oh, it was such a waste of money. I should have quit and started, selling baseball cards or something. But no, that wasn't my case. I really did enjoy what I was doing. I loved my coworkers, but I just always had that entrepreneurial itch to do my own thing ever since I was young. I mean, that was always the thing that drove me. It wasn't so much achievement in school and getting good grades. It was more so just that I was really curious about these topics and I would learn them. And then lo and behold, because I learned them really well, I would get good grades on them. Right. So that's why I would do well in school. So when I got to that job, the curiosity didn't end there. It was enough. There was enough for me to explore in that. I got to work with amazing clients like the federal government, these big federal agencies, with Fortune 500 companies in these interesting fields like solar power and wind power and biomass. I mean, like big multi-million-dollar projects. So that held me over for a little bit, but eventually that got monotonous, and I didn't like having that ceiling over my head because it was only a 15-person company, and there were 3 owners, and then the rest of us. I could only ascend so far, and that's when I knew I had to jump ship. So fortunately, I've been building up this beer website on the side, writing beer brewing articles and selling home brewing courses, and built that up to the point that after about 7 years, actually, I was at that job, and then I finally left to live the beer life.
That's interesting. So going through your education path, so you have a formal education, and then what did it look like on the online? Did you just kind of self grow and self teach yourself how to do some online courses and such, and also brewing beer is not that easy. I've tried myself, and I probably could take a few of your courses. But what was that path like in your education? So you talked a little bit about your formal education. What kind of informal things did you learn through not only just working with this company, this 15-person company in the renewable energy industry, but also those online kind of home brewing things?
Yeah, so and you're going to see a theme here. I tend to get interested in topics and really geek out on them, and I've always been a fast learner. So with the homebrewing thing, we were certainly drinking plenty of beer in college. So my roommates and I were like, why don't we just make this stuff? And they were doing it, and me too. I was doing it also for the cost savings at first. Yeah. But then I was like, oh my God, this is such a cool hobby. because I can learn all these different things inside the hobby. I can learn, sure, about beer, but also about chemistry and metallurgy and biology and all these other things. And so it was all self-taught. It was all reading books and going to homebrew club meetings and hanging out with people who were really good at doing it. And one of the best ways to learn something is to teach it.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot through just teaching it over my website. So if I wanted to learn how to brew an Oktoberfest style of beer, I would learn that and teach it on the fly pretty much at the same time. So I would learn it and also create content around it that would attract people. And then on the business side of things, on the informal business education, that was really eye-opening, because I thought that I knew everything about business, right? Because I went to school and studied it in my undergrad, and I got my MBA, and then I was working in this industry doing business stuff. I was in spreadsheets all day long doing finances, but there's a lot of different areas to business. And what they didn't teach me when I was getting my MBA was how to sell beer brewing classes over the internet.
Yeah.
So
I don't think anybody taught that.
No, there was no class on that.
Yeah. So then you've had more people start to ask you, how did you do these classes and such? And then we're in an kind of uncharted territory with COVID and all these different things, and it's really kind of pushed a kind of a major disruption of education. And so let's jump into kind of the course creators part of what you do. Give us a little bit of an overview of your what that step from beer courses to you're in over 50 different areas. You're doing a lot of different working with course creators across the board. Tell us what that shift was like, and then what are they doing now to do some pretty incredible things in the give students some incredible experiences on in online courses and such now, because it's changing so much.
It is changing. Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, so the beer site was really a stepping stone into what I'm doing now. As you can imagine, even with that site, there was a ceiling on that.
Yeah.
And so I got to the point that I wanted to get it to, but I had no intention of being the beer guy my whole life. I'm still a consumer very much, but not running that website. So I sold the website a few years ago. Mm-hmm. And what I realized that my unique value is that, like I said, I'm good at learning these topics, and sometimes these very technical topics, but I also have that side of me that's able to translate it into good marketing messaging. I'm able to translate it to the average day person. And so I'm uniquely suited to help people like myself, who is a subject matter expert, but they need help on the marketing side of things. Yeah. So my clients, they know a lot about everything from, productivity to yoga to composing music, to using software on your computer. Computer programming is a big niche that I work in. And these are very smart people who have great content, but they struggle to translate that into a compelling marketing message to get people to enroll. And so since I can understand what they're doing, and I also understand the layman's speak, I'm able to bridge that gap for them so that the prospects do see the value of that and say, okay, I know how this can help me in my life. I know the ROI that I can get on this, whether it's monetary or whether it's just getting better at a skill like homebrewing and really, using your creativity.
Right. And that's so, I speak with so many people who are just they know their stuff, right? And that's an awesome value prop to have, to connect people with kind of the everyday terms of. So what are the ages of all these people taking the classes that you are invested in? Is it all across the board?
Yeah, I mean, it tends to be adult learners. So it tends to be people, I would say, in at least their early 20s and up. Mm-hmm. Although if you go into niches more like, computer programming, you do get a lot of younger people, which is good to see. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it really runs the gambit. But to answer your question earlier too about COVID and how that's changing things. Yeah. So the future is really bright for people who teach online. There's more, because of COVID, there's more attention moving online. We're doing more things online. There's better access every single day to high-speed internet, which opens up a lot of opportunities. Because one of the drawbacks of online, obviously, is that you don't have the same face-to-face engagement and interaction. And there's a lot of benefits to being in person. Mm-hmm. And so if you go back and just look 10 years ago, the online course experience was pretty lame, right?
Yeah.
We just didn't have the tools. We didn't have, Zoom certainly wasn't around, right? So that's one of the things that we're seeing now, is that the product of online education is becoming much, much better. And that's in large part due to high-speed internet, so more people having access to it and being able to use things like Zoom to deliver a better student experience.
What I see as an educator, because I do teach at the secondary level, a couple of interesting things that are happening in this. I mean, we're in the middle of this. We're finishing out a school year. Unless you're year-long schools, I have no idea what's happening in that realm. But it's interesting because I think we're learning a lot. We're learning the goods and the bads and those types of things. What do you see happening at maybe lower levels of like primary and secondary education in these kind of online education companies? Where do you see these things going?
Well, I'll be honest, I don't work as much with the younger crowd, the sub 20 crowd. But I pay attention, and I see similar trends where, especially with younger people, their attention spans probably not the same, right? As someone who's older,
right.
A little more invested in it,
Yeah.
right? Maybe a little bit more intrinsically motivated.
Right.
So you need to, and this is something that I really learned on the marketing side of things, but it really applies to the delivery side of things too, the product itself, which is you have to capture and keep people's attention. Yeah. Right? If they don't pay attention, that's the first thing they teach you in marketing, right? Is to get someone's attention with your ad, your email, or whatever it may be. Because if you don't hook them and you don't draw them in, then nothing else matters. It doesn't matter how good your product is unless you take that first step and get their attention.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing on the delivery side of things too. It doesn't end. That flows through to your 60-minute lecture. You need to capture their attention. You need to explain to them why this is valuable for them to learn. And they need to hold their attention and do that throughout your presentation, whether it's a marketing presentation or a lecture that you're giving. And so what we're seeing is innovation on that side of things. So I've seen a lot more content, a lot more great articles coming out over the past few months about how to deliver an effective virtual training or online course. And I've been doing online courses for over 10 years now.
Wow.
And I've never seen articles written like that before. So it's cool for me to see that, because I've been waiting for this, because it's always been more so content on the marketing side, right? How to sell more courses.
Right.
And now it's, okay, here's how to deliver a better course. It's well, that makes it a lot easier if you're marketing courses too, right? You'd rather market a better product.
What do you see happening? So, okay, let's go post-secondary, right? You're going to see obviously we're seeing a lot of colleges and universities, master's programs, even doctoral programs, and then beyond, certifications and those types of things, right? They are being forced to use, I don't want to say force, but I like force. Force changes people, and they start to think in it. Yeah, motivating, right? What are some of the cool things that you're seeing there in the innovative world of what's happening? Because I'm excited about online learning. It was dry at the beginning, but I think people are coming back into it, whether they need to, they have to, or it's just an additive to something that they're already doing. What are some of those interesting kind of incredible experiences that you're seeing out there now that wasn't there besides 10 years ago? What does that look like to you?
Yeah, so let me give you an example, and I'll go back to that one client, and they teach music composition, and actually they branched out from there. They teach creatives and artists. Yeah, they would describe it as. And so you take someone, let's take a music composer, and what they teach, actually, it's really cool. They have a couple courses on this, but how to compose music for movies.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, for cinema. And even movie trailers, which I didn't even know was a market, but it's a huge market, and there's a lot of money spent on that. So take the traditional avatar, customer avatar for that line of work, and they're going to have to go to a 4-year university and perhaps get a master's degree, maybe an MFA, and spend, I don't know, how much does that cost? Probably over $100,000.
Yeah,
right?
Easily.
For all that? Yeah. Easily, yeah. With no promise of anything at the end of that, no promise of a job. And not a whole lot of help on that side of things too, with getting a job. And it's just purely the content, and you need both, right? Yeah. You need both. So one of the cool things happening is that they're delivering the content, yes. So teaching them how to compose music. But one of the cool things they're doing is they've essentially created a career center where now they're passing on a lot of these jobs that come their way, because everyone wants to hire these top guys, to the students of their course. And they can give the top jobs to the top people. And so now, if you're, I don't know, 18 years old and you're considering going to college, or if this is what you want to do, that's a tough choice. Or maybe it's not a tough choice anymore.
Right. I think that's what's so interesting is, with these courses, I've seen a lot of things where a credential comes in and then it goes into another area where you can see, all right, I've taken this course, and you get that credential, and then it goes on an online sort of portfolio. I'm kind of a big online portfolio. Show me what you can do. These courses are creating those things. So if you could go back, this is kind of the big disrupt education question, but if you could go back into, your education right after high school, knowing what you know now, what would that look like to you?
I really wouldn't have done anything differently. And that's how I look at these things. There were certainly, there were F-ups along the way, that's for sure. But I like to think that I learned a lot from those, and I needed to go through those because I had my share of flops and missteps and setbacks and everything else. Looking back on my what I wish I would have had from my education, I wish I would have been taught more real world things. I wish I would have been taught how to start a business, how to do my darn taxes. Right? Tax different. I've moved between a few states, and every time it's like a shock to the system. It's a whole different thing that we're using here.
Yeah.
So I think that would have been very valuable, and that's what you're seeing actually with like those clients that I talked about. Mm-hmm. They're taking a holistic approach to it, where they're seeing the same thing, and they're realizing, wow, the bottleneck for our students isn't learning how to compose a better song. It's they don't know how to do their personal finances for their sole proprietorship. Mm-hmm. Wow, is there any reason why we couldn't teach that to them? Maybe we have a budgeting module in the program. So it's cool. The whole model is kind of being flipped on its head.
I like that. So let's just say then, if you had a senior in high school, right? Is it a big choice? Is it not? How do you tell a student? Okay, or what would you tell a student who's a senior right now? You're in COVID. You have all these different opportunities coming at you. College costs are very high, yet there is a lot of good things with that comes along with college. What kind of advice would Billy Bros give that person?
The best way you can spend your time is to really put a lot of thought into figuring out what you want. So that defines everything. And no one even taught me that or told me that. It was just, this is the path. This is what you do. Look, I have no regrets about going to college. I had a phenomenal experience. It was like the idyllic college experience. Yeah. I also think that I was a bit of an exception. And I really, look, like I left after a few years, right, to do my own thing. It's not like I'm using a whole lot of what I learned anymore. So you could make that argument that it was money flushed down the toilet. I wouldn't say so for me personally. But I do think a lot of people go to college who probably shouldn't have. And they have these expensive degrees, and they're not using anything about what they learned, and maybe didn't have the best experience there. So I would recommend that senior in college really think about what they actually want at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. What do they want their life to look like? What are the kinds of things that they want to be doing? And you're never going to figure it out completely. It's never going to be a crystal clear picture, but it's okay if that picture is a little bit fuzzy, because that gives you at least something to aim for. And you really can't. Strategy I flipped that. College is a strategy. Going to college is a strategy. Mm-hmm. And you really can't develop a strategy unless you know what your destination is. So that's time well invested. It's just getting clear on what you want.
All right, I gotta ask. I'm a beer fan. All right, what is your best beer that you created or create still?
Oh, well, I have got this killer recipe, and it's a Citra Pale Ale. Oh. So have you had Sierra Nevada Pale Ale?
I have, yeah.
Right. Have you had Sierra Nevada Torpedo?
I don't think I have. I don't recall that one.
It's a great IPA. Yeah. Really underrated. So the Pale Ale they brew with Cascade hops, and the Cascade hops give the beer kind of a grapefruit sort of flavor, which I like, but I'm not crazy about it. The IPA, the Torpedo, uses what's called Citra hops, which give it a tropical flavor, more like pineapple and mango. Yeah. And I love it, but it's a little bit much on its own. So I thought, hey, let's combine the two beers, and that would make a great one. So I have a recipe. You can Google it, Citra Pale Ale, and it'll come up. And it's won a bunch of awards, and other people have brewed and won awards with it. It's really, really.
That's so awesome. I'm a beer geek myself. I'm a huge microbrew guy, so I can appreciate that, and I'm gonna look for that. All right, so let's jump into where people can find Billy Bros. You offer a lot of value to people who are trying to figure out their online education, their class builders, and these course creators, which you are going to see a bunch of things, obviously. I'm sure you're starting to get slammed, but where can people find Billy Bros?
Sure. Best way is just go to my website, billybross.com, BILLYBROSS.com. And I'm also on Twitter at BillyBross1 and Instagram at BillyBross.
Fantastic. Billy, I want to thank you so much for your expertise. We'll put up all your credentials down below. True disruptor, you're in an area. I'm so I love your path. I love the fact that you bounced around a little bit and then you found your value prop. I think that's what a lot of our youth need to see, and we're going to be hearing a lot from you in these coming years because, hey man, education is changing and this online course thing is going to grow and be innovative, and look to see your name on it. So thank you so much for being here with us.
Thanks so much for having me. Yeah, great job.
All right, guys, thank you so much for listening. We will talk to you next time on Disrupt Education.